Hi, welcome to Spark Homeschool Parent and this Facebook Live today. Are you deciding or you're undecided? You're not sure, you have a child that maybe doesn't learn the same as your other children, or you can just see that there may be just some special learning needs and you just haven't decided if homeschooling is the right thing for that child. We know what that feels like. Do you panic at the thought of sending your child to public school? You hear about all the resources that are available, and I'm sure you have friends that really encourage you to send your children to public school, but maybe you still have some fears and doubts about that. Maybe you're anxious. You're not sure where to begin if you do bring that child home who has those special needs. You're in the right place, and I'm so excited that you're here. We're going to be talking about the 6 benefits of homeschooling your child or children with special learning needs. And again, I want to welcome you. My name is Diana Rolston. I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. This is a Facebook group that we offer support and encouragement, discussing all issues, fears, questions, doubts about homeschooling and educating our children at home. So welcome. This recording today, this interview today, is especially for you if you do have some fears about homeschooling. You may think that you're not capable, you're not ready, you're not the perfect person. All those things that go through our head when we're thinking about educating our children at home, and especially those children that have special learning needs. And maybe you're not quite convinced that the home environment is the best place for them. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. And also, homeschooling our children is not an easy task. Anybody who's doing it knows that. And there just seems to be some special questions, some special concerns, some added difficulty when we're educating our children at home who have those special needs. So we are just creating a safe, encouraging, supportive environment for that. And that's a really important part of your journey when you are considering educating at home. There are so many benefits to educating your children with special needs. Yes, there are countless public school resources and government-sponsored activities for these children that are publicized, that our friends tell us about, and maybe your family tells you about, but the reality is that they're not always available for our children. And I know it can feel scary. Many of people have done it before you, and yes, making that step, making that decision can be scary for some of us. You may feel that you're all alone, but really I want you to know that you're not alone. We're going to be talking with a guest today who has a whole great community of homeschoolers who are educating their unique learners at home. When you hear from others who have traveled the path ahead of you, I hope that you'll feel encouraged. My guest today, I'm really excited because she just seems like the perfect person in Canada, at least, to have this conversation with. She's an exceptional needs specialist, and she'll be sharing just 6 of the many benefits of home educating your children with special needs. She's a homeschool mom of 5 grown children now, and she's a grandmom to many, and growing in that. I can see her in the back. She's smiling at that. They bring her great pleasure. She's a speaker and advocate for unique learners. She has many years of experience in the homeschool environment and now focuses on equipping and encouraging families who have students with unique learning differences. I can go on and on. Some of those experiences are going to be brought up in our conversation. I'll just also say that she's a director of marketing and promotions at National Institute for Learning Development, helps train educational therapists. She's also, you'll see her name pop up if you're looking at Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Here, let me bring in Diane Geerlinks. Thanks very much for joining me today.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and
I love being with someone else who has the same passion as I do.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we just have so much. I look up to you, and you've mentored me in so many different ways in the business aspect of educational therapy, but also yeah, in so many ways. So thank you for that.
Feelings mutual.
We have so much to talk about today, so we're going to just jump right in it.
Yeah.
When we're talking today about exceptional needs, homeschooling our children with exceptional needs. Let's talk a little bit about, we all know that anybody with children know that each child is unique.
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking about exceptional needs. So there are a few points when we're talking about exceptional needs. The first would be intellectual. Let's just hear from you when we're talking about in that area of intellectual.
Yeah, when we're looking at intelligence, we often think about, our IQ score, right? And so we have many of the students that I work with, that you and I work with in educational therapy, have average to above average intelligence. And so, sometimes with our students, it's not about, that they don't have the ability. It's just that they can't show what they know.
Yeah.
But there are those, and people that are homeschooling their kids that have developmental delays. And so intelligence could be lower than average. And I mean, the great news is that we now know that the brain can change. So it doesn't matter where they're at now. We just continue to work with them, and they can all learn. So
I'm really excited that you mentioned that, because yeah, that's the really root of the educational therapy that we do, is that the brain can change. And it's a great conversation to have with those children that have taken a look at their psych ed and see that, but just keep up the hard work and our brains can change.
There's always hope.
Yeah, and that's a really important thing for the children to hear, but also for the parents who are listening.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the intellectual piece, for sure.
There's also the communication. Some children have delays in communication or disabilities in communication, which would be speech and language impairments.
Mm-hmm.
That may also be the processing. May not be that they can't actually hear, that they have hearing issues. It may be that they have auditory processing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I would say, if there's a speech delay, often that leads to, or that's a little clue to auditory processing. So for some of these students or children who, like my own, who had struggled, with some of the way he made his sounds, as a 3-year-old, people would say, "Aren't you worried?" And I'd be like, "Well, not really," but it was that child who ended up, with the diagnosis of auditory processing disorder, right? So you realize that he didn't hear the sounds the same.
Mm-hmm. That makes me just realize that we're probably using some language that parents aren't familiar with, and we apologize for that, because that's in educational therapy. These are the words that we use, but that is a topic of future Facebook Lives at Spark Educational Therapy, where we're going to explain and talk more about some of these phrases.
Mm-hmm.
But these are words that you'll see on a psych ed assessment very often. A lot of us are familiar with behavioral disabilities, or sorry, I don't like to say behavioral differences, exceptionalities. Those may be our children with hyperactivity, anxiety disorder. We're seeing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional, social struggles. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you can just mention some physical exceptionalities.
Absolutely. Children that may have, cerebral palsy, or they have limitations in their walking, or their developmental coordination disorders. So these areas that are make it all affects all of our lives. Mm-hmm. Right? And affects how our children learn. And so we have lots of parents who have taken on the great responsibility and great privilege of being home with these kids that learn differently. And so they have to, as parents, you have to obviously address, change, modify your homeschooling.
Yeah. Great segue into, we're going to talk about 6 benefits to educating these children. We'll also point out that most children, in their uniqueness, do not fall in one of these categories.
Right. None of us do.
Exactly. And we're not saying that that's good or bad. It's just, yeah, we completely are all unique.
Yeah. But these are the benefits for sure.
So what do you say to parents who doubt their ability to homeschool their children with exceptional needs? Let's talk about that when we're talking about these 6 benefits, because a lot of us, we question our ability. We hear that teachers are highly trained, that resource rooms are fully equipped. We hear these stories, but the reality is that a lot of these children that need the extra help, it saddens us. I know you feel that also.
Yeah, and I meet so many parents. I did a workshop once at a conference, a homeschool conference, and I was talking about the pros and cons of homeschooling your unique learner and what that might look like. And one of my cons of homeschooling was that, you could get the support you needed in school, or you could get supports. And, within seconds of that coming out of my mouth, there were like hands like, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. Because there are parents who said, yeah, that never happened. And my child fell through the cracks and my child didn't get what they needed. And so I always remind parents that you do know your child best, and you're their advocate. So you will do what you need to do to get the support that your child needs, to provide it, for one, and to find others around you that can support you if you need more support. So for sure, I think as a homeschool mom all of my life, there were times that I told my husband, we should put this child in school and they will find supports for him, until I realized that's probably not going to happen. And I do know my child. I know exactly what he needs. I just need to keep at it.
Yeah. I also want to point out that it is perfectly legal to pull your children from school. Some people may think, or maybe get the pressure from school, that this is the avenue that your child needs to go on, but absolutely not.
And the parents I speak with, sometimes get that pressure even from a psychologist. Who have seen their child and said they really need to get into school to get their supports. And I would say they don't always get support there. So it's a bit of a gamble. And parents are equipped. So you can do it.
Yeah. And so let's go through. Number 1, when you educate your child at home, who is exceptional, needs these extra supports, number 1 is you can create an individualized plan and needs-specific training for that child. Maybe you could speak a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. We hear, and my child needs an IEP. My child needs an IPP, I think it's called in Western Canada, in some provinces. Really, all that means is my child needs an individual program plan, which is what you give them when you're homeschooling. And so that means really putting the blinders and the muffs on our ears to say, we don't have to compare to everybody else. We have to put in front of this student the next step that he or she can do. That doesn't mean not doing anything and just waiting, but it means giving them, challenging them just enough, just above the line to say, okay, this is a little harder than before, but you can do this. As opposed to saying, well, you're in grade 7, so I'm giving you grade 7 work.
Yeah. So it may, excuse me, and it most likely will not be what's on the curriculum for your child at that age. It reminds me of a family that I'm working with. Their number 1 goal right now, he's recently being pulled out of school, is to work on that emotional, social, and there's a little bit of anxiety there. That is the number 1. So we are putting together a homeschool educational therapy program, individualized program for this child, where that is the number one thing that we're going to be working on, not necessarily something that they would be working on if they were at school.
Right.
Well,
Because until that's settled,
yeah.
it's gonna be really hard to learn because
Mm-hmm.
our brain just can't handle it when, handle a harder cognitive thinking when we have this anxiety.
Yeah. So that's one example. Thinking too, when young children don't have the foundation, I'm just doing a course now for teaching or assessing our young children for readiness for reading. Like sometimes they just don't have that foundation. So although it may not be on the grade 3 curriculum, you individualize or whatever age your child is.
I had a parent who said, yeah, I never quite understood it. Like my child learned to walk late. He learned to talk late. He wasn't toilet trained till he was 4.5. But then we put them in school and say, okay, here are your letters and we're going to learn to read. And so we haven't gone through because that's what you do at that grade, as opposed to where are they at? And so that individualized is the beauty and wonder and certainly a benefit of homeschooling.
So that leads well into our second benefit is the one-on-one teaching time and the repetition. Sometimes that child just needs the repetition and needs to master the skill that they're learning.
Absolutely. That one-on-one. I mean, we sometimes as homeschool parents, we're like, we don't have time, because we have 5 children or 3 children or, there's situations that happen in our lives, but yet you do get one-on-one and they don't get that in a school system because the teachers want to, but they have so many students to meet all of their needs.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to put the pressure or the guilt on parents that they have to be one-on-one with each one of their children for an extended period. You obviously,
because we don't have. I mean, we're lucky to get one-on-one for 3 minutes.
Yeah, however long it takes, though, or is needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Number 3 benefit to educating our exceptional learners at home is creating that controlled environment and a consistent structure. Again, for this student that I referred to earlier, that's so important for him, that we have a controlled, predictable environment. I was thinking also of, I did a little questionnaire with my 3 boys when I was educating them at home. And one of them was, do you prefer to sit by the window and read, or in your bed, or in a closed, quiet environment? We can create those environments.
Awesome. Yeah, so great. That's the individualized piece, right? That we can say what will work for this child, right? And that takes learning along your homeschool journey to be able to be okay with we're not all together at the dining room table, right? To be able to really think through, oh, where could this be and how will this child learn best? And maybe I should work with them in the evening. Like, the options are limitless.
Yeah, actually, that was a good point too. When I asked my children the best time for myself, I like to wake up and do those hard tasks first. And when my children were 11, 12, 13, I talked to them about that. They were like still half asleep at 8 o'clock when I wanted to get going.
Yeah, exactly. And that's hard. That, homeschooling any of our children, and certainly our, special learning kids, isn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes us sort of reflecting and looking at how can I help them be successful.
Yeah, and great point, because it really is all about them.
It is. And getting ourselves out of the way, and sometimes our agenda of like, but I just want this done. I just want to move on with my day.
Yeah.
And that's hard. But I think that it's going to serve a purpose of a more peaceful home.
Yeah, more peaceful home, and also looking into the future of that child and how they're going to thrive in society when this education is all done under under.
Right. That's the point. How
Yeah,
do we get them? How do we get them launched?
yeah. Number 4 is benefits to educating our children with special needs or exceptionalities is providing that emotional stability. Again, a lot of our children these days have anxiety. Maybe a child is being bullied or picked on, or just the emotional instability of being in the school surrounded by equally immature children. But we're able to provide that emotional stability in our home environment. Mm-hmm.
It's so true. And I think that we sometimes, I can hear parents rebuttaling you, going, you know, all the emotional stuff that's going on in my home. I know you know.
Yeah.
Right? But yet, yeah, even if, I would say even if our home sometimes doesn't feel so quiet and emotionally stable, we know that it's less, I mean, it's your family who you know and love and care for, and so you as a parent are there to help the interactions that may be negative that you need to kind of deal with. And so, yes, a stable environment.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, good point, because sometimes I have heard that it's actually the brother or the sister that is the bully, but we can oversee that and we can intervene and talk those things through rather than really having no idea unless our child comes home and shares that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Another benefit of educating our children at home in general, but also with these special needs children, is socialization. It's a
Oh, wow.
big topic.
Something. Or something. Yeah. I think it's kind of on the heels of that last one, right? Bullying can't be positive socialization, no matter how you look at it. But yeah, we do want our kids to have those friendships and to have somebody that is their buddy. My children would say it's their siblings.
Mm-hmm. Mine
Now,
also.
that's adults. That's now as adults. I don't think they would have always said, my best friend is my sister. But you are developing such great relationships. And I think, my anecdote to the socialization question always has been from day one, like, if my kids can get along with each other, they can get along with anybody in the world. Because we know, and in our families is where the good, bad, and the ugly happen. And we have to work it out. And so when there's an older bully, poor older child I'm picking on here, it's we have the privilege, the responsibility to be able to walk through how that looks so we can help the bully and the other. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think socialization, the homeschool is a perfect place for socialization skills to develop.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking now specifically about those children who have exceptionalities
Yeah.
that we have at home, and just that relationship that our other children have with their sibling. It's just such a beautiful thing that needs and often is developed within the home environment when we're all together. It's just treating them with respect
Mm-hmm.
and being an assistant and all those things that come with that. Mm-hmm.
Even the child who is struggling with reading, and then a younger sibling comes along and bypasses them in their reading, right? How that works itself out, and how you talk through, well, we all have differences, we all learn differently, this is easy for you, this isn't easy for them, and vice versa. And so that is such a great learning experience for the rest of their lives. Now, I would add that, I'm not all about we can't go see other people. So it's so great to have one other family. I tell my own married kids that are now homeschooling, you need to find, like, you don't need a huge homeschool group. You need one or two other families that are your people.
Mm-hmm.
And hang out with your kids. They don't have to be the exact same age.
Mm-hmm.
And even for us, one of the beauties that I saw, probably, especially when my oldest daughter got married, it really hit me, because I looked at her bridal party. As I was sitting there, I was like, oh my goodness, like, she had a friend, one of her best friends was like a mom of 3 young kids. She was in her bridal party. She had a young homeschool teenager that was our family friend, that was much younger than her, and that she was in her bridal party. And it just really struck me of this various age friendships that our children get to have. And I think our exceptional needs kiddos benefit just as much from a variety of ages.
Oh, absolutely. And which leads nicely into the benefit number 6, which is there's an array of possibilities. We don't focus solely on the disabilities of our children, but we help them discover their strengths too. And I found that, oh, it looks like you're having internet problems there. Oh, there you are. I found that for my own children, the people that they hang out with, that they communicate best with, are those that also share those same interests. And that's just a fantastic opportunity in the home education environment to explore those interests and outside of academics.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's such an array of possibilities. I love the fact that for our exceptional learners, we can really target in, like, what do they love to do? And making homeschooling, like I always say, especially through the older years, you want to make homeschooling a better experience than they could ever get at school, in their opinion. Which means you have to help them see, like, you could not go skiing in the middle of the day if you were in school. And so, those opportunities that might be available for them, to help them see that, yeah, we work hard, and some days are, I might rather be with my friends, but the benefit is that I have this extra time.
Yeah.
The array of possibilities, I think, for our unique learners, or our exceptional need learners, or our special need learners, is one of the beauties of homeschooling.
Yeah. Let me just go over those 6 benefits. An individualized program and needs-specific training, the one-on-one teaching time and repetition that child needs, the controlled environment and the consistent structure that's often needed, emotional stability, socialization, and just a wonderful array of possibilities. I just want to point out that much of our conversation has come from this great article from HSLDA, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, of which you are a consultant, exceptional needs specialist. So, and I noticed on their website that one of the many benefits of being a member of that association is that they have one-on-one time with you.
They do. They get 1 consult per year, and so we get to chat, which is lovely, because it's my passion.
Yeah. So that's HSLDA, and that's in Canada. They also have an association in the United States, which I assume would be a different specialist, but someone equally as qualified and enthusiastic and just passionate about your special learner.
Yeah.
Where else can people, your name just pops up in so many places.
I do a little bit of a lot in a lot of areas. Yeah.
Sorry.
I have my own educational therapy practice, Gearlink's Educational Therapy, but specifically for homeschooling, I have a group called Homeschooling Your Unique Learner. And it's a big group of lots of parents across Canada and the US and who knows where, who are joining us to talk about ideas and suggestions and encouragement, which is really what we need. I'm running a group next week coming up on that, actually a master class that's specifically in that group, and that is to really just lots of days of spending time with other homeschool families and myself to encourage and teach. So I'm excited.
So for those that are listening to the replay and aren't familiar what next week is, can you tell us the date that that's going to start?
Sure. August 29th. It will be at 1 o'clock every day for 2 weeks. I'll either be live or there'll be a recording, and there'll be other posts in the group to really just sort of focus in on these 2 weeks of how do we homeschool? How do we do this successfully? How do we help our unique learners, reach their potential and beyond?
Mm-hmm. So many questions that parents have, and they'll have the opportunity to discuss those and hear from you in those conversations. Again, that's Homeschooling Your Unique Learner in Canada, I think the Facebook.
I think in Canada is now off, so it's just Homeschooling Your Unique Learner, and you just have to ask to join the group.
Perfect. That's awesome. And also, like you, I have an educational therapy private practice, Spark Educational Therapy, here in Ottawa. You're in Georgetown. You have a number of locations in Ontario.
Georgetown and Waterloo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time that we get to talk about these things and talk with each other. We have, it's just a wonderful opportunity for parents to educate their children at home, but specifically for those unique learners, those with exceptionalities. So thank you very much, Diane.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Again, this is Spark Homeschool Parent. And these Facebook Lives, these videos, if you're seeing them on YouTube, they're just one part of the greater community. We are a Facebook group, Spark Homeschool Parent. And my commitment is to provide an encouraging, non-judgmental community where we can share these questions, our doubts, our fears about educating our children. And if you've benefited from this conversation, no doubt you have a friend who would benefit also. So I encourage you to share the link, pass on the Facebook Live, pass on the Facebook group, whatever it is. That would be awesome. And I have a few links in the notes for HSLDA, some of the associations that Diane's part of, and how you can continue the conversation with her. Thanks again.
You're welcome. It's great. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Until next week.